Daily Detroit is brought to you by the community. Support our work at patreon.com/Daily Detroit.
Hello and welcome to your Daily Detroit for Friday, March 6th, 2020. I'm Jer Stays. The weekend is here, and that means the fun lane is open here at Daily Detroit. Joining me and Sven Gustafson in the studio is man about town, Devon O'Reilly. We're going to hit on some of the fun stuff happening around town this next month, the hot spots, the openings to go to, as well as some of the closings. So let's just dive right in.
You know, Jer, I was outside yesterday walking around, and I'll be damned if I didn't have the thought that, like, man, it feels positively spring-like out here. I mean, it's still a little chilly, I know, and I'm sure we're going to have plenty of winter weather, but it was just like a feeling. It was hard to put your finger on, but you know it when you feel it. You know, spring's definitely around the corner. That means that it's the start of all kinds of goodness here in Detroit, outdoor things, festivals, new restaurants opening, and who better to come and talk with us about all that good stuff? Devon O'Reilly, Daily Detroit's man about town. Devon, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. As always, it is great to be here.
You know, I thought I saw you out and about with that bird scooter.
I am, the birds are out, the limes are out, the spins are finally out. I caught a fresh new spin the other day. They've got like the locks on them now. It's an updated fleet.
Ooh, fancy.
Updated fleets. All
so
right.
Spring is here.
Yeah, so weather's going to be turning warm before too long. I mean, we're going to start getting more.
Sunday's going to be like 60.
Wow, that's great. So I don't know if there's anything scheduled outdoors this coming Sunday, but the following Sunday, one of Detroit's finest traditions is the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Corktown.
The 15th on Sunday, right down the heart of
Michigan Avenue.
The oldest. I was gonna say the oldest neighborhood in the city, Corktown.
Still has bricks on the street pavement.
It's a fine place for a parade, and you know it's always touch and go weather because they always hold the parade the Sunday before St. Patrick's Day, so that can fall really close or really far away. Mm-hmm. And so there's been some really bad weather for the parade, but this year looks to be pretty good. Early forecasts show.
Yeah, I often run the Corktown 5K before the parade, and I remember a few years ago, I think it was one of those polar vortex winters, but man, it was just icy. Like we parked across the freeway up in kind of like the North Corktown area, like Rosa Parks, and we were coming on over those bridge overpasses, those pedestrian bridges over the freeway, and oh my God, the wind. Like after you ran the race and you were kind of sweaty and cold, like that wind was just like,
you know, late 20s-year-old me remembers living in North Corktown and having that as the amazing party base for much tomfoolery.
So much tomfoolery.
Go down Rosa Parks, hit Nancy Whiskey's, then jump into Michigan Avenue, then come back, hit Nancy Whiskey's again, and then just, you know, fall over in your apartment.
Well, I love it's kind of a give and take here because there's this split where a lot of families come down because it's a parade, so you want to bring your kids, and you'll bring your kids down to the parade to see the floats and see all the revelry. But it's also a you-know-what show. Yeah. And so there's drunks falling next to toddlers.
It's kind of like the closest that Detroit ever gets to Mardi Gras. You know, people walk around on the street with cups of beer and stuff, and the cops
it's like
usually more or less tolerate it.
I don't have any kids. I don't know if I'd endorse bringing your kids, but why not?
Yeah, sure. So the people want to know, Devon, where are your picks for like the best drinking spots?
Sure. Well, Jer kicked it off for us with saying Nancy Whiskey's. That's really
that's
the
a good
HQ.
home base, though.
And it's off the beaten path a little bit. I mean, it'll still be.
You can't see the parade.
That place. Yeah, you can't see the parade. It'll be
it's a good
packed.
starting spot. That's what I wanted to say.
Right. And they've also done a ton of improvements over the last few years with their back patio. They changed that whole area from grass to gravel to accommodate more folks. I personally like the grass, but everybody's different.
Some of which, I was going to say, some of those upgrades are controversial among a certain Daily Detroit persona.
I'm persnickety sometimes where I just, it's like music. You get into the album that you first met a band with, and you're going to think that's always the best version of that band. That's how it is for me in Detroit bars often. So sometimes I find myself being the curmudgeonly old man, but also knowing that in part maybe I aged out, right? And I can fully accept that and move on to other places.
Mm-hmm. All right, what else?
My favorite, which is a treat that I always, probably the only time, unfortunately, that I go to each year is the Gaelic League. You know, they open their doors up.
That's fun.
They open their doors up. I believe there's a cover charge there, but pay it. It's worth it. It's so old school. They usually have the tent up in the back. They've got corned beef, the whole buffet set up. It's a really awesome, very authentic. They got music. So Gaelic League is definitely my number one.
Is it pretty crowded? To be clear, most of these places are going to be jam packed. Like if you're not into crowded bars,
Well, good
Buyer
point.
beware.
Let's level set that. I mean, if you're coming down and trying to get into these bars at noon or 1 o'clock, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
If you want to do the parade right, you need to be down there around 9, 10 a.m. because, they will be crowded.
Yeah.
Everyone will. So
I mean, I'm thinking of like Slows, Nemo's. Those places are like crawling. with
yeah,
people.
I mean, they'll
full.
They'll all put up an extra tent so they can have the indoor-outdoor, but they'll still be jam-packed. Not that you shouldn't go to them, but yeah, there's some great options. Gaelic League, you mentioned, Nemo's is another great one. Anywhere that has live music, I'm going to be a little more drawn to, and so they'll do live music at Nemo's. PJ's, I'm sure PJ's is still open, right? I know they
as far as I know, yeah.
they're still. It'd be silly not to be open for the St. Patrick's Day parade.
For sure.
That'll be great. Motor City Wine, just because they got a great, not necessarily an Irish bar, but they've got a great patio there. So
Absolutely.
they'd be another really cool spot.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's keep going here. Another event happening in March is the Nain Rouge, March 22nd this year, right?
Yeah, March 22nd. So the following Saturday, it's going to be, March is just going to be awesome. You got the parade, you've got St. Patrick's Day on Tuesday the 17th, and then Saturday the 22nd, you've got the Marche de Nain Rouge, which is going to be awesome. I feel like a lot of the listeners are pretty familiar with it, but do we want to kind of step back and talk a little bit about what it is?
Please.
So help me out because we got some tried and true Detroiters here. But essentially, Nain Rouge is the Red Dwarf, and he has been around since Detroit's founding, and he's been at the scene of a lot of terrible things that have happened in the city, a lot of major events. He's been spotted, wink, wink. And so, he's somewhat of a harbinger of doom. He's very much
he's like Loki in the Norse myths.
A little bit, exactly. And so every year, Detroiters gather to cast him out of the city and bring positive vibes to the city, cast out the Nain. And so they do a big party. We have a huge parade down Cass.
Yeah.
I've
never gone to it.
It is a scene.
it is.
I need to do it.
There is an actual Nain.
My former roommate was actually the voice of the Nain.
Yeah.
And so that was a really crazy experience. And in recent years, I've kind of changed the story a little bit and made it a little bit more, welcoming to Nain because, everyone
because people
should be
started
welcome.
liking him. He actually became a sympathetic
likable.
figure.
Yeah.
It started off as he's supposed to be this bad guy we're casting out, but he was just such a lovable villain that people were all on Team Nain, and I think they had to rework the story a little bit.
My main man Nain.
It's a great party. Again, a lot like Mardi Gras. That actually reminds me a lot of kind of the Mardi Gras type of scene with they have the different crews, the different people that do floats and dress up.
And I would like to put a pin in the fact that I would love to see Mardi Gras come here. And I've done historical research. Did you know that in Detroit, we used to celebrate Mardi Gras, but we used to do it with crepes?
With crepes?
Yes, with crepes. We would go down the street with pans of crepes, and we would flip them, and we would have contests, and we would eat them.
Flipping crepes on the street.
Yes, this is something that I read in a library book in the Detroit Public Library.
Who knew?
I'd bring it here in a heartbeat. You could kind of marry it with the Nain Rouge.
Right, sweet, savory, hot. You could have hot crepes. Because it's the Nain, it's red,
I love crepes. And now that Good Girls Go to Paris is no more, I mean, I guess there's that place in Royal Oak, but yeah, crepes are not...
what are we drinking with our crepes,
They don't
though?
exactly grow on trees around here.
What do you drink with the crepe? You're good at pairing, Sven. I imagine it depends
if
if
you're
it's
having a
sweet or
sweet
savory.
or a savory, yeah. I mean, if you're having a savory, more or less anything. Wine would certainly go. Crepes are French.
Sure.
Wine would be natural.
Little Aperol
but
spritz.
Sure, why not? I mean, if you're doing dessert, you pair sweet on sweet more or less, I guess. But you could also do like a sparkling wine would be good. Kind of cut the sweetness.
I'll tell you what. I know what I'm gonna eat on the morning before Nain Rouge now.
Bringing up the rear at the end of the month, Tigers opening day.
Yes, opening day falls in March this year, which
March 30th.
March 30th,
and that's a Monday, right?
Wah. Yes, it's a Monday for opening day.
Gonna be a lot of people playing hooky on that Monday
for sure. Yeah, I hope that doesn't impact too many people's plans. I'll just be taking the day off. You know what's funny? This is a good point that I hear from a lot of people. People say, are you going to opening day? I would say, yes, I'm going to opening day, but usually 90% of the time that doesn't mean you're going to the game.
You're not actually entering the stadium.
Most people don't actually enter the stadium and go to the game. You are participating in opening day by going to the bars, by wooing, by drinking outdoors, by wearing Tigers gear. Like that is going to opening day.
Sven, we woo so often. So much woo.
Oh, those pedal pubs will be out in force just any minute now. I haven't seen one yet this year, but...
Yeah, it's been a little cold for that. But and I would just say, I'm not going to say too much about opening day, but I would just say to people who are planning to take part, like, be respectful, clean up after yourself.
People live here, including me.
Don't be an A blank blank. I mean, just
There's a list
keep it respectful, people. I mean,
there's a list on your
that's it. Thank you.
your esteemed website a few years ago about how to celebrate opening day by an author whose name escapes me, but seems familiar. So yeah, I mean,
We should re-up that.
We should.
yeah, people do live there. Don't trash the streets. Keep your wooing to a minimum. I mean, for God's sakes, it's going to be a Monday. There's going to be plenty of people who do have to work and are going to be going about their day, and you don't want to disrupt that. So be respectful.
Don't leave your trash all over the place.
There's nothing like a good Monday woo.
Yeah. All right. That's a good roundup of all the outdoor events and sort of big happenings in the city coming up in the month of March. Let's go over some restaurant and bar openings, which, we were putting this list together, and we're going to get to closings a little bit later. A little bit, kind of an even keel here now. The number of openings seems to have slowed. We've talked about that when you've come on the show recently, that, the tide may be turning a little bit, that the restaurant boom that we saw here for the last few years may be kind of, slowing a little bit.
I'm still bullish on the bar and restaurant market, but
all right.
it
People
is,
still like to eat and drink.
True.
You can always count on that. I've said this before, I think, when I was a bartender, it's like when times are good, you're busy. When times are bad, you're busy.
Yeah, absolutely. People are not going to stop imbibing.
One opening, I have yet to go here, and I'm ashamed to say this because, I live not far away from it, walking distance, Ferndale Project, the old Axel Brewing Livernois tap location in Ferndale has opened about a couple weeks ago, 2 Saturdays ago from now. This is, of course, the project from Eastern Market Brewing Company and our good friend Dane Barch over there. They will feature an Ash Supply espresso bar. They're going to be introducing new sour beers and house-brewed ciders, in addition to, I think, 10 brews that are special to the Ferndale project. They're also going to have Eastern Market favorites like the White Coffee Stout, which is really good. I've tried that. Elephant Juice, ditto. And then a food menu heavy on bar food. A lot of vegan offerings, including Nashville hot tofu. So I'm excited to try that.
Yeah, they're scratching me where I itch in a lot of places there. I mean, first of all, it's great to see something kind of come into that location and kind of
it's a beautiful building. Yeah,
exactly. It's a great space, and I'm glad it's Eastern Market Brewing because they do a great job with their beers. They really do an amazing job. I'm a big fan.
Their tap room in Eastern Market is pretty sweet too.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of hazy IPAs, and they have some of the best hazy IPAs you'll find anywhere, and that White Coffee Stout is really, really good too.
Yeah, super unique, and you look at it and you think it's like a pale ale. It's not. It doesn't have a traditional dark stout color. It's a pale color.
Yeah,
interesting.
So Eastern Market, I think, is the ideal. Eastern Market Brewing is the ideal place to go in there, or ideal person on that. And I'd also say Ash. I'm a big fan of Ash in the downtown location, and so having that incorporated as well will be another favorite. So I really like what they're doing or what I'm hearing, and I'm very, very excited to check it out.
Me too. All right, another place opening soon, Condado Tacos. They are already doing business in Royal Oak, and they're opening up a location in the Cass Corridor or Midtown, I guess we call it.
What are we calling it these days? I don't know. The Cass Corridor, Midtown. It's this area. I feel like this area is gonna need its own name soon because there's so much going on in it in the last couple of years. So,
and where are we talking about specifically?
We're talking about Selden Street. So you're talking about Selden and 2nd, basically
near Selden Standard.
Yeah, exactly.
And Honest John's and She-Wolf and all that stuff.
Yep, just around the corner there. So yeah, you've got a real hotbed. You've got Selden, She-Wolf, Honest John's, Smith & Co., soon to be Condado's Tacos, soon to be Nain Rouge Brewing. You got Castelia, the scent cocktail.
Yeah, the Sfumato cocktail bar. Yep.
So yeah, that area is really turning into something really cool. So
which is amazing because 5-10 years ago there was not much there. I mean, Honest John's was anchoring a neighborhood where there was not much activity.
Yeah, credit to Selden. They have to be given the lion's share of the credit for kind of turning that around because they created a world-class restaurant, in my opinion. That's still my go-to.
Or Honest John's before that for, kind of coming down back before it was fashionable.
For always being open. Man, there's not many places you can get a 7 a.m. beer or Bloody Mary in any city, especially Detroit, but Honest John's delivers that, so that's pretty cool. And so Condado's, I think, is going to be a good addition.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one I saw on Eater, and I've been seeing the build-out kind of taking shape, Joe Louis Southern Kitchen. According to Eater, this is set to open next month in April on Woodward in the space formerly occupied by New Center Eatery. They were a Motor City Match grant winner, but they shut down not too long after that. The new place is going to be partly owned by the New Center Eatery owner Johnny Cannon. It will serve the New Center Eatery's popular chicken and waffles dishes. It's going to have all-day brunch 7 days a week, 24 hours on weekends. Menu's going to feature things like flavored pancakes, shrimp and grits, country fried steak, cheese grits. I don't know about you, but I love grits, and I think grits is something that people in the North generally don't understand and fail to appreciate somehow.
No, we don't have anything comparable really to grits, so it's hard to kind of it's hard to kind of get into it, but it's amazing once you do.
When it's hard to have good, real Southern style grits.
True.
They are not easily found up here.
Which is weird. I mean, occasionally you can find them. I've had them before at the Whitney, and I've had them at Cliff Bell's as well that were pretty good. So, I mean, you can find them, but I'm all in favor of expanding the grits.
How do you guys take your grits? You get butter, cheese, what do we like? Salt, all of it?
Well, if I'm making them, I make them at home sometimes, and I'll just do butter and a lot of hot sauce. Like a Cholula or something, like a Tapatio hot sauce, something like that.
Yeah, well, see, I have experience with grits from New Orleans and from Florida, and both, all the things. Yep. Decadence. To me, grits are decadence.
That's that Joe Louis Southern Kitchen's taking shape on a stretch of Woodward. It seems like kind of an emerging hotspot. We've got Yum Village, our good friend Godwin Huntugi, his restaurant over there,
which got some really serious nods.
Yeah, I think
plaudits.
Mark Kurlianchik over at the Freep gave it the number 2 restaurant of the year, runner up essentially for 2019. So good on you, Godwin. Congratulations for that.
Well deserved. That area is really cool. You know what? New Center needs more places. That's one of those. Sure. We talk about downtown and is the restaurant boom over because there's so many restaurants opening up downtown and then some close. They should be opening up a New Center because there's actually a need there for more food and more drinks. And so,
well, I think
a lot of development activity up in that area for sure, between Milwaukee Junction and everything. Yeah.
To me, the real development, the real need though, is to create kind of like a walkable district. Because then you're going to drive even more people into it, because there's only so many apartments and places like that up there right now. But if you make it somewhere where you can stop there and let's say go from Kiesling or say start at Godwin's place and you make it over to have a drink at Kiesling, or there's a variety of small places, but it's still not quite a bar district. Northern Lights. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
I always forget about Northern Lights, but yeah, that's a great place. Also on that stretch of Woodward, just wanted to mention New Supino Pizza is...
Oh, I'm so excited about this.
They're building that out right now. That's scheduled to open. And then this is, we've been talking about this for a long time, and I feel like it's really delayed. But I haven't heard that it's been canceled. The Baobab Fair, which is
I've been hearing about that for a while.
East African food, and I'm super excited to see that open, and I hope it still does. But it's definitely taken a long time.
We need some more activity in New Center for sure, and specifically Fisher Building. I want to see some more.
I love the Fisher
think that's
building.
part of all the improvements, right? They're doing that conference center. They're redoing the 2 entrances, and they're also doing a bunch of tuck pointing outside because they've been winning some new real estate clients because. Strategic Staffing Solutions went from the Penobscot, which is just crumbling, over to the Fisher. And I mean, that's one thing is to lose, thinking about like downtown and all that kind of stuff, to have an office building be so empty is just not, it's not good for downtown.
Yeah, and you guys know there's actually, just side note, but it'll affect all this. There's a new WeWork that literally opened up this week at 6001 Cass, a huge building, 5 stories.
WeWork's not dead yet?
Going strong, my friend.
Really?
They are doing really well in the Detroit market.
Wow. So
they just opened up a huge new office. It's bigger than either of their footprints in the downtown spaces that they have, the 2 they have. So their third location just
they're
opened
expanding when they've basically gotten into so much economic debt by expanding so quickly.
I just hope that they never do something stupid like call it Weetroit. At that point, I may throw a rock through the window.
I'll make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay.
All right. Getting back on topic here. Another one via Eater that I saw. This was interesting. Planthropie. It's called Planthropie. It's dubbed as the region's first vegan cheese and dessert bar, and it has just recently opened up in downtown Birmingham. Everything is vegan and gluten and soy free.
I would like to note for listeners that all of us kind of have slightly askew glances with this one.
I'm not a vegan. They do some really good food. So like Siva is a fantastic restaurant. Yeah. Love it. I'm not a big fan of the nut cheese though. That does it for me.
Fake cheese.
That's what does it for me.
I can't do fake cheese.
The nut cheese just cannot replicate
this may be my own I know this is my own personal preference, but when it comes to those kind of foods, I would rather have something that's closer to the vegetable than a fake thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's great to have like a giant portobello mushroom cap and have a sandwich based around it or whatever.
Yeah.
But what I don't like is like the almost food. So like, and the nut cheeses kind of go in that realm for me, where it's like, eat what it is as opposed to like trying to create this fake thing.
Like a vegan BLT or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's interesting. A few other new openings that we won't spend a lot of time on because we have done recent segments here on Daily Detroit all about Congregation. Jer, you went up there the other day and interviewed the owners about the new coffee shop opening up.
Gorgeous space.
Yeah, is it on Rosa Parks? I forget.
Yeah, it's on Rosa Parks. It's actually just less than, I think, a block or two from where the 67 uprising happened.
Yeah, interesting.
But it's the neighborhood's really like roaring hard, and I know multiple people who went to the soft open, packed to the gills. This place is going to be something special.
Boston Edison has not been roaring like this since the 20s, right?
There you go.
Inquiring minds, Jer, what's the food and beverage program looking like over at Congregation? Are they going to have a full bar?
Yes, they're building it up. The food program, I feel like, is going to be kind of more sandwichy focused. Bar-wise, they definitely want to do a full bar. The hospitality is done by somebody who used to work for Great Lakes and is somebody who has kind of hospitality in the blood. So I'm looking forward to what they're doing. I wonder if it's going to be similar to, say, Batch, where it becomes a destination for people around the region. And it's got that same kind of feel. Even if you go out on their deck, they have an amazing large deck. And all I could think about was Batch and that beautiful space outside there. Very similar.
Looking forward to it.
Another two in Eastern Market. Farmer Frank's, that's in the old Farmer's Restaurant. That's going to be, a brunch spot now, right?
Yeah, breakfast, brunch, all that kind of thing. You know, the market is really hurting for breakfast spaces right now with the loss of so much. I mean, no Russell Street.
No, Russell Street Deli, man. What a loss.
You know, Farmer, the old Farmer's Restaurant, which is what this is taking over. I'm excited
Which is also a good breakfast spot, yeah.
I am excited because Wiggly's is great stuff, so they're going to be serving Wiggly's meats and things like that. I hope it still has that, like, kind of high-volume vibe because it's got to serve a lot of people in the market. You need some places in the market that can just turn and burn, man.
Yeah, and then one other one opening, you covered it on Monday's show, Bees.
Yes, it's a really pretty space. The public coffee shop isn't opening for another month or so, but
because the rest of it's like a co-working space, right?
Yeah, a co-working space for like makers and all that kind of stuff. And, the world has a lot of coffee shops, to say the least right now. But I think it's a smart idea. It's also not the majority of their building.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go in there, I would say that maybe 15% of it, if that, is a coffee shop. It's pretty. I'm sure it'll be great. Another interesting thing about that is the people who do Bees, the co-working space, also did this lemonade that took off like crazy.
Oh yeah, and the DeQuinder cut with the weird like crane thing.
Yeah,
from the embankment.
They've already hit distribution in 11 states.
Wow,
which is insane. I mean, hey, props to them, but yeah, like locally done thing gone big.
Yeah. Moving right along here, now it's time to touch on closings, places that have closed. And a big one that just hit the news a few days ago, I think, Fort Street Galley downtown.
Yeah. I feel like it was a long time coming, right?
Yeah,
At first, like the individual concepts closed, and then now we see it kind of come full circle.
So what are your feelings on this one? Because to me, I think there's a confluence of things. I feel like there was a mismatch in concepts, and I feel like there were also some issues in the umbrella organization.
Sure. The mismatch of concepts, I think, is a good point. I would also say the location is just tough. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not saying that something couldn't succeed there. I think that can, but you're already kind of starting off behind a little bit because of the location is just tough. Not a lot of foot traffic outside of business hours.
For listeners who don't know, Fort and Shelby?
Yes, I believe that.
Yeah,
is
right
correct.
by the federal courthouse.
Right.
The only foot traffic you're getting there is during business hours, Monday through Friday.
Yeah, nighttime.
So
that's
you had to clean up on the lunch crowd.
At night you could shoot a cannon through there.
Which is again is unfortunate because they had a huge bar and it was like, I appreciated that they had it. They had a really nice bar, but I don't know how often it got used because it's not a place you'd ever go to at night. So I think that was a little bit tough for it. I think the price point was a little tough again.
Yeah,
and I think
that's
we had
what I
talked
always
about
kept
this
hearing
before.
about it.
You want to go to lunch. You don't want to spend $20 on lunch if you're not treating yourself to London Chop House or something. You don't really feel like spending $20 on lunch, and I feel like that's kind of what it was. And I mean, I don't blame the places. I'm sure the rent was a little high. So
they were doing what, a 30% share
cut of the restaurants.
The restaurants take, which is a lot.
That's high.
So yeah, I think the price point was a little high for the clientele and the customers.
I had a kind of an old reference pop into my mind when I was reading about the closure of this, and that is Tally Hall. Do you guys remember Tally Hall? That concept? I'm dating myself now. Tally Hall was a big indoor food court thing in the 80s. It was out on, I think it was in Orchard Lake Road out in Farmington Hills.
Yeah, I have zero idea what you're talking about.
And then they opened up a spin-off one in Ann Arbor. Which, in fact, I used to work there in high school. So it was same kind of idea. You go down, it was kind of like an indoor food court, like a mall almost, with like different food stalls and restaurants that you could sit at. They didn't work, like they just all eventually died. I'm not saying that concept can't work. Like, I think, we're seeing like Detroit Shipping Company where we used to.
They're killing it. They're expanding. They're building a whole new building.
Right. But I think they had some advantages that the Fort Street Galley probably didn't. Parking is, I hate to say it, but that's a big one. They also do a lot of events there. They've got like live performance, stage and they hold like events. And so they're great for like hosting parties and things like that. And I think that the shipping company being made out of shipping containers, it's architecturally interesting. It's kind of a place that like naturally draws people because it is different. It's like cool. It's like, what is this? You pull out outside of it and you're like, that's pretty crazy.
And you get into it. And I hate, because I really like places that are more open than the shipping company as far as like interacting with the neighborhood around them. But one thing the shipping company does with those walls, the way they do it, it's almost like they create a space that is, I don't know, transports you to another place, because you can go in there. It's almost like it's like an outdoor casino, and that you can get lost and lose time.
Yeah.
Because those containers there, I mean, you know what time of day it is because the sun's coming down on you. It's really the best in the summertime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
they create an atmosphere.
They create an atmosphere and you lose your sense of time. And that's when people drink a lot and spend a lot of money.
Also, quick thing on that. They also have, and this can't be understated, they have two almost destination food concepts.
That's true.
I mean, they hit it out of the park. I mean, Coop and Bangkok 96 street food are amazing places. Like, those could exist as standalones anywhere.
Don't slouch on Momo's dumplings.
Yes, Momo's too. Yeah, I didn't mention
Nepalese dumplings.
So that's the other thing, and not to begrudge any of the concepts at Fort Street, but I think that's the other thing. Shipping container.
I mean, I could go get dumplings for $8 right now all day. Right? It's not even a question. All day.
Okay, moving on. Another closing. I'm super bummed about this one, you guys. Craftwork out in West Village. Last day is Saturday, March 7th. The building, we've covered this on Daily Detroit. It's already on the market for $300,000. I love that place, man. This is, the old Harlequin Cafe space over there.
I have a lot of memories as a kid of that place.
On that fantastic block of Agnes in the bottom of I forget what the building is called, but, I
think it's the Parkstone.
It's one of those few places in Detroit where you feel like you're in a real city. It's a narrow street.
Yes.
It's a dense neighborhood. It just kind of feels like a cool, like out of the way spot. And it's a beautiful restaurant interior in there, very cozy. I liked the menu. It was creative. They did good cocktails. I actually went there several times, and I'm sincerely upset that we're losing this place.
But I also think there were some changes that they did as it went on that I don't think resonated with their regulars. I mean, at some point, I think they ended up getting up to like a $20 plus chicken dish. It's like,
yeah. I was there over the holidays, actually, for dinner, and we had generally pretty good food. We had some mishaps with the cocktails, and the service was overall just a little off, I have to say.
Yeah, then this one did kind of surprise me, but I can't say I went there too often. West Village, for me, just where I live and stuff, feels a little bit far away, but it does feel like a very close-knit community.
Yeah.
And so, if anything, I thought we'd see a proliferation of more bars and restaurants, and to see one closing, especially Craftwork, which seemed to be really an anchor of that neighborhood, was kind of surprising to me. But again, like you're saying, I wasn't aware of the different, maybe some of the behind-the-scenes issues that were taking place. The menu did change a little bit.
And I mean, I'm just talking neighborhood scuttlebutt. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we deal with this.
I'm out of the West Village neighborhood scuttlebutt. So.
But, over there are successful places. You think about Marrow.
Sure.
You think about Destination, what is it? Destination 1905, whatever it is.
Detroit Vegan Soul.
Yeah, absolutely.
Red Hook.
I had a very good cocktail with a friend of the show at Destination 1905 the other month.
You know what? That's a good point. I think that Marrow, from what I've heard, Marrow has done such an incredible job that perhaps they've stolen or kind of taken some of the customers that would be going to Craftwork, because Marrow's cozy. They've got a little bar area. You can kind of I can see a lot of locals from that area going to Marrow.
So this gets to another point that I have and this is not. I don't want it to come across that I was like slamming Craftwork or anything. There is a math problem in that there's only so many people who live nearby. You've only got so many customers. And if you were in a more developed city, you would have a couple of miles worth of customers to pull from. There, you've got, a mile
Indian
less,
Village,
Indian
you've
Village,
got
West Village, and then your
adventurous gross pointers.
Your adventurous gross pointers, your island viewers, and then your
downtowners who are, and yeah. Right.
But it doesn't have the same...
it's a neighborhood destination restaurant without the neighborhood, a healthy, big neighborhood to support it.
Right, as opposed to like something like Sister Pie, which draws people from all over the region.
Right. All right. Another restaurant that has recently closed its doors, Gold Cash Gold. That was kind of part of the original sort of wave 5 years ago, I think it was. Original wave of restaurants, along with Selden Standard, Republic, that opened up and really kind of started changing, the game and attracting a lot of attention in Detroit.
Yeah, they were one of the originals. They were great. I was a longtime customer there, and I liked it a lot. They really had cornered the market on the whole pickling. That became a real big thing. Pickling. They were a really big farm to table. They pickled almost everything they did. They did a lot of dishes around that, and they were really good. They had good cocktails. But I just think, if anything, maybe they just got kind of caught up in the mix of all the other stuff that was opening, and they weren't able to really differentiate themselves in terms of becoming a destination within Corktown. When you have places like Lady of the House and Takoi and Mink now, and some of these other really interesting concepts that are adding to what's going on in Corktown, and perhaps Gold Cash Gold just couldn't stand out as much anymore. And I did feel a little bit of losing its luster. It got brought up less, when people talk, where should we go eat in Detroit? I heard a lot less people mentioning Gold Cash Gold.
Do you think that there is an element of the bar is being raised in the scene right now?
For sure, absolutely. That's I think that's a huge piece of what's happening, and that's why, honestly, Gold Cash Gold maybe might be the most, but I haven't shed a tear or sweated any of these recent closings in the last year or so, because I felt like the cream is rising to the top, and the really good restaurant concepts are rising above, and they're doing really inventive and really innovative things in the places that kind of rest on their laurels or don't kind of advance or don't kind of bring something really interesting to the table. They fall by the wayside, and we can only mourn them so much.
So Devon, quick sidetrack here. What are your favorite restaurants right now in the city?
I will. Selden Standard will always be on a list. I feel like they are just the most consistent restaurant in the city. Grey Ghost is always a favorite of mine. They continuously bring it, but they also switch up and bring new concepts. I really like the Highlands for a steakhouse. For it is what it is.
Top of the RenCen.
Great steak. Yeah, get a great steak. Top of the RenCen. Joe Muir still has awesome seafood. Lady of the House is one of the.
I love Lady of the House. Yeah,
that's their brunch. Lady of the House brunch is certainly something. So those would be off the top of my head some of my favorites. London Chop House, I still will go there for a happy hour or a great price steak. With all these pricey steak and seafood places coming up, London Chop House is becoming quite a deal.
All right, thanks for setting us straight there with your favorite picks. Another place recently closed, Greenspace in Ferndale, Greenspace Cafe, the vegan restaurant on 9 Mile. We covered that before. They kind of intimated that they didn't quite get enough regular business volume, and they hinted at problems with the landlord and everything. They still have the Greenspace to go location on Woodward up in Royal Oak. So, that space, actually I ran by it the other night, and they still haven't really emptied the space out yet. So things don't appear to be moving quickly in terms of getting a replacement in there, though I've heard rumors that, they're lining up. They've got lots of interest.
The chef there actually is doing stuff over at Embrew now, because they were converting their menu from like chicken fingers and stuff to vegetarian.
Yep. One other place that recently closed, El Guapo, the food truck, had announced it on social media. They were a little sheepish about it. They didn't divulge many details, so we don't know what exactly happened. All I will say is that El Guapo used to set up, I don't know if they were still doing it last summer, but they were a regular in Campus Marches,
Yeah.
Well, and to be clear, I'm not sure if they closed or if they changed owners or what the whole story is. Like
they've confirmed it on Twitter and stuff too. But they were also regulars at Detroit City FC home matches at Keyworth as well. I stopped patroning them because I don't mean to kick a place when they're down, but their lines were so long, both to order and to wait for your food. And it's like, if you're running a food truck, you can't be slow. Food truck's supposed to be fast.
I skipped past them a few times downtown at lunch just because I just didn't have the time to wait 20 minutes or more.
I mean, that's a problem that plagues a lot of food trucks around here. Like, you got to design your menu to be a little bit faster. I will give
your systems.
Your system, yeah. I will give El Guapo a lot of credit though, because back in 2011, they were among the first.
Yeah.
That got like licenses to actually serve food trucks, because there was so much. People who are newer to the city don't realize there was so much animus towards food trucks being open in any way, shape, or form in Detroit. And there was a ton of lobbying by brick and mortar restaurants to keep them out. And so they were on the vanguard to make things happen, and they kind of blazed a trail to what we see today. All right, this next one, I'm not sure if anyone's shedding a tear. I know I'm not. Granite City in the RenCen. I mean, if a meh restaurant falls, does anyone hear it?
I don't. I'm reminded of the movie Office Space with Granite City. My only question is, what would you say you do here? Their food wasn't great. I don't think that was anything special. They certainly didn't have good beers. They kind of claimed to be a brewery, but they didn't have great beers. Yeah. They certainly didn't do cocktails. Why am I going there again?
Well, especially when it was like, it's a place that tried to do exactly what they do out in the suburbs here. And in order to make it go, you got to be somewhat of a destination. And it was just kind of, and to be clear, I don't want anyone to lose their jobs. That part sucks. But there was just nothing remarkable about it whatsoever.
You mentioned working out in the suburbs. They have a location on Big Beaver, I think, right by I-75, if memory serves. Is that one staying open? Do we know? Or is the whole chain shutting down?
No, I think that one's staying open. They selectively closed restaurants in various places around the country.
All right.
Can I put something to you guys? What do you think? Because I thought about this. Granite City closing. Okay, we're fine with it. We weren't big patrons anyway. I thought maybe they would do a good crowd from the RenCen. But what should go there? It's an odd location.
RenCen's hard.
It's a huge.
What type of concept? I was really racking my brain trying to think about what
Yeah.
should go there. Like if we like to talk about restaurants and what we like.
It's a big
RenCen's
RenCen space. It's a big restaurant space to fill.
The outside is weird because, and I have personal experience with this. There is the exit road by the tunnel, then also Jefferson Avenue, so you don't really have a peaceable outside. It's kind of like a weird place for that. And then the RenCen itself is having a lot of problems in general with retail, tenants, all that stuff. I mean, there's the Highlands and all that stuff, but that's
right. Joe Muir's an anchor.
But like, it's not. You have that. What do you do?
You have that captive daytime office crowd, but
that's a grab and go crowd.
It's a tough place to try to invite people into, because the RenCen, despite all the improvements GM made over the years to it, which were improvements for sure, it remains kind of a fortress and a little bit of an imposing building.
Yeah.
And it's still not an easily navigable, easily enterable building.
Well, like, think about it this way: if you're on a date with somebody, and you're going to go to Granite City, so you either park in the garage and go through the confusing building, or try to figure your way out with a bunch of traffic around you. Or let's say you want to enjoy the city and hold hands as you cross 15 lanes or whatever of East Jefferson with cars buzzing by you. I mean, if you want a thrill ride, maybe some sort of date that keeps you on the edge of your seat as you play Frogger across Jefferson Avenue, that would be a great way to go to that restaurant location.
Speaking of crossing Jefferson Avenue, if you cross Jefferson Avenue from the RenCen, another place that recently closed that we didn't think of until now, Briggs.
I was
sports bar.
Yes, Briggs.
Very quiet closing.
And the old former
great space again. The former
used to be the
Tom's Oyster Bar.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, it's a great location. I used to go to Briggs very often in the summertime because they had a really cool rooftop. They would have DJs up there. Yeah, I really appreciated what they were doing. I mean, I can't pretend like I was there every day, so
but let's be honest. You and I both like a more refined. I think all three of us like a more refined, a good cocktail, a good time, and frankly, that often means that we end up in very many LGBTQ friendly places because they do a great job.
It was very cool. Sports bars are just so limited in Detroit as it is. So the fact that they had one was pretty cool. So I'm kind of bummed about that one. Again, it's a great space, so I really hope that it doesn't go unused. The last thing I'd want to see is too much time go by before that someone else goes in there.
I have more hope for that space than I do Granite City,
agreed.
depending on the landlord.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right, there are a couple more that we're going to do because this has been a epic March, my friends. Well, this one, I'm not sure if we should even mention it, but I feel like we have to because it's a name brand. I frankly don't care that much. Kid Rock Made in Detroit is set to close in April.
At Little Caesars Arena.
Yeah, I guess we're going to miss like tater tots or something. I don't know what we're missing.
I think
Sure.
Little Caesars Arena will get better with
They'll
that.
put
Improvement by
something else
subtraction
in there.
Well,
They'll put something else in there again. Improve by subtraction. I have to say, when Little Caesars, when LCA first opened, and I think I told you guys I was going to do this. I went to every restaurant concept in there early on, and it was insulting. I'll say insulting the price point of Kid Rock's versus the other places. It was consistently $2 to $3 more on every drink, every food item. They were the most expensive concept in that whole area, and God only knows why.
See, I think they should open up a concept called The Lot and just have really large plates that are empty and flat.
Not bad.
And they're going to charge $5 to $20 to $50 for every meal.
5 to 20 to 50.
Depending on the day and the time.
So something else, I'm going to remain positive and say something else will go in there and it will be an improvement. Let's just say that.
And finally, Hamtramck, a beloved enclave. Polonia, one of the Polish signature standby places, is up for sale, and it's big old building. The whole kit and caboodle. You can even get the delivery vans, my friends, and the liquor license.
Wait,
for sale?
Do we think is it a situation where for sale but not going to close, or could this be the end?
Oh, I mean, the new owner will do whatever
possible.
they do.
Yeah, I mean the problem is there aren't a lot of Polish people left in Hamtramck.
Not like people stereotypically think there are.
I don't know what kind of business Polonia has been doing, but I think it's done pretty well, right? Like I think people still come down specifically. It's kind of a destination place, right? But anything could happen. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure look what happened to Greektown over time, or what is still happening to Greektown. It's not very Greek anymore.
No.
So who knows?
I would like it.
I hope it hangs on.
I have fond memories of very inexpensive cherry schnapps shots. That was a wild time.
Polonia?
Yeah.
All right. Well, friends, it has been an epic discussion here, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Devon O'Reilly, our man about town, thanks so much for coming down and educating us about what to do and where to go in Metro Detroit.
Great to be here. Lots of stuff to do in March in Detroit. Can't wait to see you guys again soon.
And we're done for today. Your Daily Detroit podcast was made this week by Fletcher Sharp, Sven Gustafson, Cheyenne Nocerini, Devon O'Reilly, Randy Walker, Laura Khalil, and me, Jer Stays. Thanks for listening. Take care of each other. We'll see you around Detroit.